Whenever you can't skate, playing skateboarding video games is the next best thing. They help you learn new tricks, keep you entertained, and just keep you occupied whenever you aren't skating. Now, there's a lot of skateboarding video games out there, but not all of them are worth your time, let alone your money. Today, we're going to go over the best skateboarding video games. If you feel like any good ones were left out, go ahead and leave a comment. Be sure to leave a like on the video, and with that said, let's get right into it. TrueSkate is one of the best skateboarding apps out there. A lot of people prefer TouchGrind too, but I'm indifferent about it and TrueSkate has more reviews, so I'll let everyone else argue it out in the comments. Since TrueSkate is only an app and most phones don't have buttons, the way you play is completely different from console games. Rather than using buttons or joysticks, you actually use your fingers to skate, similar to the way you'd use a fingerboard. This makes it a little hard to get used to at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun to play. Also, since TrueSkate is an app, you can basically play it wherever, which isn't the case for most other skateboarding games. For being a mobile game, the graphics are actually really good and they regularly update it, so they're likely to get even better over time. TrueSkate features a lot of famous skate parks like the Barracks, Tampa, and even some Street League courses, but you do have to pay extra for most of them. With that said, the app only costs a couple of dollars and there's so many courses to choose from that it's easy to just spend a few dollars and have plenty of parks to skate. TrueSkate is one of the more realistic skate games out there, which is usually the reason why a lot of people either love it or hate it. The realistic physics make it pretty hard to get used to, but a lot of skaters appreciate how accurate it is to actual skateboarding. Since it's a mobile game, it's perfect for passing time when you're just sitting around. Also, it only costs a couple of dollars, which is more than fair for such a fun game.
And that is a strong start right there. Nice. Look at him go, man.
He's been on fire this weekend.
Yes.
Session is one of the newest skateboarding video games, and it's actually still in the beta testing stages. Even though it's not finished, it's available on Steam and on Xbox One as an early release, and so far, it seems like it's on track to be one of the best skateboarding video games ever. As of now, Session is the most realistic skating game there is, and it does take some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun to play. The physics in the game are pretty spot on, and the controls even mimic your actual body movements when you're skating. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically, the analog sticks on the controller are what controls your legs. So for example, if you wanted to ollie, you would push down on the back foot, which is the right stick for regular stance, and at the same time slide up the front foot by pushing up on the left stick. Just like with actual skateboarding, it takes a lot of coordination, but if you get good at it, you can skate much more realistically and even tweak your tricks once you get better at them. This is a big difference from other games where there's preset buttons or analog stick patterns you follow to do a trick, so it allows you to form your own style, similar to actual skating. The graphics in the game are absolutely incredible, and honestly, it's more like a skateboarding simulator than a skateboarding game. Some of the other realistic features of the game that have been mentioned include the ability to wax ledges and rails, as well as a filmer mode where you get to act as a filmer. So far, there still isn't a final release date for the full game, but it's been in the works for a while, so hopefully it'll be available in the next few months. s.k.a.t.e is the first ever skateboarding video game. Or at least the first ever skateboarding game that was widely made. s.k.a.t.e was originally made by Atari in 1986 as an arcade game, but was eventually turned into a game for both consoles and PCs. Now, you may be thinking, wait, how can a game from the 80s be one of the best skateboarding games? Well, to be honest, by most standards, it probably isn't. But it paved the way for future skateboarding games, and it is fun to play, so it deserves at least a little bit of credit. Compared to most of today's skateboarding video games, s.k.a.t.e is, well, less than impressive, but in its time, it was a pretty decent game. It only allows you to do a few simple tricks, and the graphics are exactly what you would expect out of a game from 1986, but overall, it's really not that bad. The game essentially has 4 levels that include ramp, downhill, slalom, and jump. Now, if the pixelated graphics and the background music didn't immediately let you know the game was from the 80s, the fact that they have a downhill and slalom section is a solid giveaway. It is a weird selection to choose from, but it does add a little variety so you aren't just riding around doing nothing. The game mostly consists of you skating around getting money, buying gear, and going to new parks, which isn't that different from what a lot of skaters do in real life. I mean, if they updated it to allow you to scroll through Instagram, it'd be pretty spot on. Compared to almost every other skateboarding video game, 720 might seem pretty bad, but it can actually be a lot of fun, and for its time, it's a good game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater revolutionized not just skateboarding video games, but video games in general. Even though there was a few random skateboarding video games between the mid-80s and late 90s, none of them even came close to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It's one of the best-selling video games of all time, and since it was released in 1999, it's had almost 20 different sequels and remakes. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is the game that made Tony Hawk a household name and really put skateboarding on the map. Seriously, there's probably not a single event in history that created more future skateboarders than the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. According to a market research firm, the number of skateboarders worldwide increased by more than 60% between 1999 and 2002, which doesn't seem like a coincidence. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater allowed you to skate as your favorite pros, it had a decent variety of tricks, and it let you skate almost any obstacle. I mean, what other game lets you grind power lines? It was also one of the first video games in general with a good soundtrack, and there was definitely millions of kids out there who had their music taste influenced by it. The games were filled with cool Easter eggs and subliminal jokes, and honestly, there just isn't another franchise like it. Also, the first two Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters are about to be remastered, which means you can still relive the classics with much better graphics on a next-gen console. Now, of course, out of almost 20 remakes, there's definitely some that stand out as being absolutely amazing, and others that are, well, pretty bad. So rather than try to tell you which Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is the best, leave a comment on which one you think is the best, and let's just see what people choose. Skater XL is one of the newer skateboarding games out, and it's often compared to Session. Just like with Session, Skater XL has realistic skating, great graphics, and a controller layout that mirrors your foot movements when you're actually skating. The controls make the game a lot harder than the average skateboarding game, but it also gives you a lot more freedom to develop your own style within the game. Skater XL has basically everything you could want out of a skateboarding game, including real-life spots, realistic skating, and more than enough challenges to keep you occupied. There's also a pretty big modding community for it, so there's always new features coming out. Skater XL has been in development for years and has managed to build up a pretty solid fan base just with its beta. Currently, it's set to be released in July 2020, which will be the first time in years that an entirely new skateboarding game was released. Skate is one of the best skateboarding game series of all time, and it's the best thing to happen to the skateboarding video game genre since the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Skate 1, Skate 2, and Skate 3 all completely changed the way people play skateboarding video games. Each game added amazing features like wider trick selections, better graphics and controls, map builders, the option to record tricks, and even an online community. Skate was the first realistic skateboarding game to come out, and it really revamped the skateboarding video game genre. They took an entirely new approach, and so far, all three of the Skate games are considered classics. The only real complaint most people have about the EA Skate games is that there's not enough of them. The Skate games all have great soundtracks, good storylines, and massive maps that you can skate around for hours without getting bored. Even though Skate 3 came out over 10 years ago, there's plenty of people who still play it today, which just goes to show how much of a timeless game it is. Also, it was just announced that they're finally going to make Skate 4, which might be the only time a video game sequel was made 10 years after the last release. I mean, seriously, people waited 10 years for a sequel, and they weren't even mad about it. They were just happy that after all of their Instagram comments, EA finally decided to make Skate 4. The first three Skate games were already amazing, and once Skate 4 comes out, it's likely to be another one of, if not the best skateboarding video game. If you aren't able to go out and skate, playing skateboarding video games is a great way to fill the void. They're a fun way to pass the time and do tricks you've always wanted to do or skate spots you've always wanted to skate. When it comes down to it, there's so many amazing skateboarding video games out there that it's basically impossible to say which ones are really the best, but these are a few that are definitely worth playing. If you feel like any good ones were left off, or just want to talk about your favorite skateboarding video game, leave a comment so other people can see it. Be sure to drop a like on the video, and with that said, thanks for watching.